થેન્ક યુ. ઊંઘી ગયા હતા બધા? લાગતું નથી ફેસીસના અવાજ જોઈને. So will you guys please stand up for a moment and do a exercise with me? You have to copy me. Do like this. Hands, hands straight, then up, straight, then up. Okay, you can sit down. To person sitting next to you. It will sound like a clapping for Avni. Okay, let me start with a question. How many of you are from technical background? Most of. And from a non-tech? Oh, a few. I am also from a non-tech background. As I have written, I am a mathematician by art. I have done my master's and bachelor's in mathematics, and then I moved to technical. And as I have mentioned, I like to write. So what I write is basically on those topics that are not generally available publicly. Like I have written documentations on in-app purchase guide, app publication guides, and recently I have published one package called Touchcraft Editor. That's basically इंस्टा हम लोग जो इंस्टाग्राम पे स्टोरीज बनाते हैं तो वो जो एडिट करते हैं that's the package. You guys can check that out. Yeah, that's about me. So this is the flow of today's session. First, we will understand that how Flutter layouts everything on the screen. Then we will learn about slivers and sliver protocols. Once we have understanding about all this, we are good to move forward to scrollable and viewport widgets. And then we can move to our actual topic, that how scrolling in Flutter works. Okay. So don't judge me, guys. I don't write this kind of code in my production applications. This is just for the demo to start our session. That what questions makes us to deeply understand that how scrolling actually works. So can someone tell me what will be the output of this code? Anyone? No one? Yes, Nikunj. Sorry. Yes, there will be errors, red screens, and yeah, errors and errors. So, if you are a white coder like Tony Stark, you will go on ChatGPT, copy the problem statement, and uh, you will hope that this answer will work. And if you are a seasoned developer, you will just go on the Stack Overflow. So what the answer is, just have the shrink wrap shrink wrap parameter as a true value for the inner list view, and everything will work great. But why this error occurs? Yeah, that's the question. Yeah, this system mean. Next, please. So it leads us to a question that what actually widget is. ફ્લટરમાં આપણે વિજેટ્સ જ લખતા હોઈએ છીએ એન્ડ જ્યારે ઇન્ટરવ્યુઅર એમ પૂછે કે વિજેટ ડિસ્ક્રાઇબ કરો ત્યારે આમ પેમેન્ટ તો હા શ્વાસ લેવા દરું થઈ જાય નહીં. So એકદમ સિમ્પ્લિફાઈ વેમાં I will try to teach you that, because this is not the topic. We are talking about the scrolling. Everything in Flutter is a widget, right? Yes. What if I say no? Next style is for you. Everything in Flutter is not a widget. Why? Because if we write the container, column, rows, all those are widgets. But there are many classes that like textile, box decoration, build context. Those are not widgets. Those are sort of configuration classes. Like we use textile for text, then box decoration for container. So those are sort of configuration classes. And how do I know that? You just have to control click on those widgets and you will land up on the page where there will be documentation for that. So this is the advice, that whenever you stuck with something and don't understand that, just control click, you will land up on the documentation, read it, and that those answers will also help you to prepare for the answer for your interview, and those will be totally unique. No one will be giving those answers. So this is a tip. You can note that down. Next, please. Yeah. What exactly is a widget? That's the question. So someone from the Flutter community suggested the definition that widget is a discrete block of an app's UI. This consists of three things. Let me give you an example. You are taking a taxi and driver knows you. So what you will say, hey driver, just take me home and you will reach by your home. But now driver does not know you and so you have to say go left, go right, go round and you'll end up reaching your home. So what's happening is, as Flutter is a declarative framework, we just write a container, right? I want a container with this color, this height, this width, and yeah, that's it. We do not worry about how Flutter is actually rendering everything, how it is showing pixel by pixel on the screen. We just worry about what we want to do, not how it will happen. So that's the first part, static configuration. Then second one is persistent state, that is the state variables which we define. Like everyone has seen the counter app. Yes, anyone who has not seen it or in a do you guys have seen it in material 2? Because it used to be a different that way, but now we have material 3 and recently we have material 3 expressive, but that's for another talk. And the third one is a random method that's renders everything, that shows everything. So now widget શું છે એ સમજી લીધું. Next is આપણે widget જ્યારે enter કરીએ when we write the widget, then behind the scenes what happens. To understand that, we have to dive into trees. Maybe this is not the tree we are looking for. Yeah, this one. So when we enter a widget, it creates. So yes, as we discussed the interview question, there was the answer that there are three trees. So everyone agrees with that there are three trees. Which one? Widget tree, element tree, and render object tree. Great. That I used to be that person. But I was so excited to know that there are not only those three trees. When we talk about trees in Flutter, that is some sort of forest. Flutter creates more than those three trees, because if you have used that deep end boundary widget, then it creates a different layer and hence a different tree. And also we have a collection tree for the render objects. So we have three trees. So when we enter a text, the element related to it is being created by the Flutter, and lastly the render object that contains the actual size, layout and everything, and that render object will be responsible for drawing something on the screen. So now we know what is widget and how Flutter shows something. So we are at the stage that chalo screen upar kasuk dekhai to, right? Now next is you must have heard this line in your development journey. Constraints go down, size go up, and parent sets position. So there are three, we can convert it in three parts. First is constraints. So what are constraints? Those are minimum and maximum height width. Minimum height, maximum height, minimum width, and maximum width of the widget. Then size, that is actual height and width of the widget. And third is parent size position. So this sentence describes how the layout in Flutter works. Let me give you an example. I take a pose, you can see all the backbenchers. Can they see? Don't worry, I'll explain. And also, if you have heard any words the first time, please note it down and don't worry about that. If you have not understand anything, you just have to catch up the things that how we are building up the topic. So what happens in layout, that take scaffold as a father and center is its child. Now father is asking that, hey child, how big you want to want. So center says, okay, but I also have a child. Let me ask to my child. And the text is child of center. So suppose the text is small. So text is says, I just want 10 by 10 pixels size. So center says, but I have 100 by 100s. So center will say, okay, let me put you in the center and give you 50 by 50. So the text give its information to center, and now center will pass all this configuration to the scaffold. So it is a parent-child hierarchy. So that's how Flutter layout something. What layout means? Layout કર્યું, but layout નું meaning શું થાય actually? કે ગોઠવે છે કેમનું, ગુજરાતીમાં આપણે એવું કહે ને how it वो कुछ अरेंज कैसे करता है स्क्रीन पे, राइट? सो फर्स्ट हमने क्या देखा कि कुछ शो कैसे होता है स्क्रीन पर, देन वी सी दैट हाउ फ्लटर अरेंज इज ऑन द स्क्रीन. सो नाउ वी आर गुड टू मूव फॉरवर्ड टू द स्क्रोलिंग पार्ट. So we are good to move towards slivers. So I'll check the dictionary, and the sliver means is a piece of something. If you are having a pizza, then a piece of pizza is sliver. But we are not here to talk about pizza. We are here to talk about Flutter and scrolling. So what will be the definition? A piece of a scrollable area. So that's a sliver, and we can define sliver to behave in a specific manner. Now the layout that we seen earlier, that will work perfectly, like no doubt, for the boxes only, because there will be only sizes, that the only size will matter. But now we have scrolling. So scrolling mass was it, we will need a user input. User will do something, and based on that we have to show something, we have to arrange something, right? So for that we will need a different protocols, and those protocol means a set of rules. Office ma rules hoy, ઘરે rules hoy, બરાબર કે રૂમાલ કાઢલા પર નહીં ફેંકવાનો. So those rules are called sliver protocols, and sliver, those sliver follows the sliver protocol. Yeah, please. So sliver protocol has these two classes mainly. In the last we had the constraints and sizes, and here we have sliver constraint class and sliver geometry class. I will not go much deep into this because it is not needed for the topic. But what you can understand for this is sliver constraints will configure the sizes for the sizes and how to arrange everything on the screen, and that has properties. There are many properties other than this, that axis, cross axis, user scrolling direction and other. And the sliver geometry class will be responsible for layout and visibility, that what is currently shown on the screen. Next please. So एक एक्सरसाइज करें नानी भी, that think like there is no flutter, or let's say there is a flutter. And does anyone know the flutter fork? What's its name? Flow. Yes. So you are responsible in flow to achieve a scrolling or implementing a whole scrolling behavior. Then how would you do it? There can be many ways we can achieve this. First is render everything, because in that case we do not have to worry about what we have to render at which point on which conditions. So we are now off the burden of if all those if else conditions. And so yeah, first case is that we render everything at a time, but that will not be good for the performance, right? Because if you will render everything, then that will be case when you have a lakhs of data, your UI will crash, your application will crash. So we need a different approach, and for that we can implement a lazy loading, right? Lazy loading, if you know, that only show the or render the elements and all those things that are currently visible, and do not render everything those are out of the view. So we will go with the second one, and for that, there will be three steps. If you understand this, you will understand how scrolling in Flutter works, because this is the exactly how Flutter has implemented the scrolling. They has just three parts that I will be showing, and based on that, they configure the scrolling. First is interaction layer. So what's it? It's a just a detector to detect that user has scrolled down, scroll up, or has paused, long press, every all those information that will be configured by the interaction layer. Second one is the container. We will need a container to see through the scrolling part, and third one is content to scroll. Of course, if we will not have the content, there is no point to talk about the scrolling. So third one will be always that. So for first and second responsibilities, there are widgets responsible in the Flutter. For first, there is a scrollable widget. Now, why we need a scrollable widget and not a gesture detector? So gesture detector is a has some limited contents, and does not have that broad things. Kind of for the what we can say, for the deep level and for all the configurations and all the interactions that user are doing, we will need a more low level thing, that is the scrollable widget Flutter has introduced. And just a detectમાં બીજો એક પણ એ છે કે if you have worked with the old Flutter versions, then you can see if there is a problem, that how you can know that this application is made with the Flutter. So there was a trick that if you swipe with the one finger, it will swipe you normally. If you will swipe with the two fingers, it will scroll a bit faster, and with three, there will be a lot more faster. So that was the trick people used to know how the if the application is made with Flutter. So the first responsibility is scrollable widget, and it manages the scrolling in single directions. So and it passes all the information to the viewport. Now, what's the viewport? Viewport is our second thing, that the container we talked about, right? So, viewport is a widget from we can see the scrolling contents. So, take an example of Instagram. At a once you see a one reel. So that one reel is your viewport, because that's the scrollable part of the application. And yes, displays the subset of children. Uh, don't go deep into this viewport, because if you want to understand easily, so you can take an example of your home. You are sitting in your couch and you can see through from your window. So that window is your viewport. So similarly, you can connect the both things. Yeah, so as we discussed the sliver protocol, there are directions. First is axis direction, and second one is cross axis direction, and from in which we can define the directions for the scrolling. And starting will be leading, and the ending will be trailing. So as we have two axes, they shoot up somewhere, and that point is called anchor, and that anchor we can define. So now the point is, we know how scrolling works. Flutter has those two widgets and done everything with that. But what we will do with this information, right? So we will, when we need to implement a custom scroll view, in that case, or a custom scrolling behavior, in that case, we will need to use this scrolling theory. And for that, we are learning about these properties. So, as we have learned in our 10th standard mathematics, the Cartesian graph, at the same way, we can imagine the axis, the starting will be 0 and ending will be 1. So, as the point I have written, the center will be 0.5, right? No, it's 0.5. Pay attention, guys. Yeah, so that's anchor. Then so the first element after the anchor, that will be a center sliver, and when this will come handy, that suppose you want to uh, build a scrolling such that you have hundreds of items in list. You want the seventh item to stick to the upper part of the scrolling area fixed, and it should not scroll away, right? So in that case, you will need such property. Then second one is caching area. So it's the same example, Instagram or YouTube. Am I scrolling matter when if you have observed that if you scroll the faster, some of the content that will be loaded already. So that will be a good user experience. So for that we have cache, and by default there is 250 pixels cached by the Flutter to have those data loaded and to give this lazy loading fee. And scrolling computation, you can use user scroll direction class to have the custom scoring behavior. In if I give example, if you have seen the application of Gmail, so there is a in corner right corner there is a icon and a text. When you scroll, it icon shrinks and the text will disappear and you will have only the icon. So in that case, you can use this user scroll direction, which will determine that if user has scrolled down or up, it will determine that if the fingers are on the idle moment or any other moments. So yeah, thank you. So આખો flow ખબર પડી બધાને. First we learned that what is widget. Then we saw that how Flutter shows something on the screen, then how it arranges something, that is layout in Flutter, and then we move towards the scrolling. And yeah, we're missing something. The first question I asked, that why that occurs, the error occurs. So the answer is in the next slide. Yeah, the error is this, that you put receiving unbounded dimensions. When you will have list inside a list view, you will have this error. And why this occur is, you can imagine you are in a submarine and you can see from a porthole a group of fishes going from the right to left. Now, what you can what you know that there will be a lot of fishes. You do not know that how many fishes will be there, right? So that's the list view. Now, when we have a list view inside a list view, now imagine you are seeing another porthole coming from right to left. So, bit tricky, right? And technically not possible. So, that's the example you can, this porthole can be considered as a viewport, and you can relate this example that why this error occurs. So, when we give the shrink wrap true, what it does is it forcefully evaluates and calculates all the things, all the elements that are wrapped with it. So it will occur the performance issues, right? So that's why it says that do not use the such kind of thing. Do not use single chat scroll view everywhere because it renders everything at the same time. So we use list view dot builder, right? Yeah. Thank you. You guys can connect with me. And one more last thing, a surprise for you all, that next month we are, the team Dash from the 7 Star are announcing and declaring a Flutter startup kit, a Flutter boilerplate that will be open sourced, and it will cut by your time from a 1 week to a 1 day, and having all the configurations ready for your application, production level application to build, environments, firebase, routing, and everything. So if you are guys interested in that, stay tuned. We are launching soon. Thank you.
That was very good. No? A lot of insights, right? She talked about so many things, so many things. Oh my god. And I think it over 30 minutes were not enough, Avni, right?
Yes.
Maybe you could have given only 1 hour.